What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex Martin, and today we have Jackie Kilgore. Jackie is located in the suburbs of Lansing, Michigan, and she has successfully acquired a business and built 3 grooming salons on top of her pet sitting business. She's been at it since 2015, and she is the founder and owner of Paw City Pet Care. I have her here today to talk a little bit about how pet sitting combines with pet grooming, and then how she went from 0 to 3 grooming salons in 1 year. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us here. I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about who you are, your stories, everything about you. Honestly, like all of these things kind of excited me because we don't oftentimes see pet sitting combined with pet grooming. We see a lot of pet boarding and pet grooming, or like daycare and pet grooming, but we don't see pet sitting and pet grooming. And so I'm excited that you came in through the pet grooming or pet sitting world, and I'm excited to learn more about it. So take us back just to the beginning. So 2015, you're pet sitting. How the heck does Paw City Pet Care get to where it's at?
So thanks for having me. And I started pet sitting in 2015 because I found myself working at a very large doggy daycare. And I'm talking about 200 dogs on a holiday weekend. So
Oh my gosh.
super large. I didn't work there long. It was great. The dogs were well taken care of and all of that. But I quickly realized that it was not the right fit for all dogs. There were some dogs that were elderly or not dog friendly, or it was overwhelming. And I just said to myself, there has to be a better option. There has to be something better for these dogs. So I went onto the internet and said, what can I do with my dog? And a website called rover.com popped up. And that's a platform that connects pet sitters with pet parents. And I signed up to be a rover sitter, and I started getting pet sitting clients, and it was great. I met lots of pet parents and went to their houses and took care of their pets. I did that for a short period of time, and then I'm like, what if I cut out the middleman? What if I just start doing this on my own? Because Rover's taking money from the pet parent and they're taking money from me, which, I mean, they have costs associated with it. There's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't want to pay Rover to do it. So
it's like, I want that money.
and really it's going to be cheaper for the pet parents to pay me directly, and I'm going to make more money. So I decided to start marketing my pet sitting individually. So I did that. And then in 2019, the end of 2019, through a mutual acquaintance, someone was closing their pet sitting business. So we connected, and I combined my individual pet sitting with her pet sitting business named Paw City Pet Care. So I kept the business name because I really hadn't established that quite yet. So we wanted to do a slow transition, because you get super connected with your pet sitting parents, because there's a lot of trust that they're putting in you. So you're going into their home when they're not there. So we wanted to slowly transition everybody over to meet me, meet the pets. And what happened at the beginning of 2020?
Oh man, so that was everything but a slow transition is what I'm hearing here.
So interestingly, what happened was everybody shut down. No one was traveling. No one needed pet sitting. This acquaintance who was leaving the business, and I was purchasing it from her, she was afraid that I was going to back out. But to the contrary, I called her and said, what if I buy you out early? Because she wasn't working. Pet sitting was her sole income, where I still had another job. So I bought her out early, and she was so grateful.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, so pause there for a sec. What led you to believe, and obviously worked out, but at that time, what led you to believe that was a good idea in terms of, like you just said, hey, no one was going to be traveling anymore, which means essentially the clients that you were paying for their services, to get them in your business,
Mhm.
they may or not need you anymore. So what led you to believe that, hey, I still think pet sitting as a service is here to stay, even with this crazy pandemic thing?
Because of my experience from 2015 to 2019, I knew that this was a service that pet parents wanted and pets needed. It's not all dogs are suitable for a boarding situation. Not all dogs are suitable for a daycare situation. And cats. We have tons and tons and tons of cat sitting clients. Because what do you do with a cat when you go on vacation? And cats want to stay home. They do not want to go anywhere. They don't want to go in
Yeah.
their crate. They don't want to go in their car. They don't want to go to a boarding center. They want to be at home. So I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I knew combining my existing clients with what was already established with a business name was what I need was my next step was to get a business name. And this just happened to the roads met at the right time.
That's amazing. Honestly, it is really cool that you took that chance on yourself. Because again, looking back in hindsight, it obviously worked out. And you
Right.
had such a big picture mindset about it. It wasn't, the pandemic or anything right in front of you didn't scare you off. So I really commend that. That is remarkable. That you're able to have that foresight. Okay, so pet sitting. So you acquired, for lack of a better word, a pet sitting business to combine with yours, and now
Mhm.
you have a pet sitting empire at your hands.
I
Okay,
do.
so you to walk me through kind of how that would work, because pet sitting doesn't require, as you just said, a facility. You're doing it in your clients' homes.
Right.
So you still had, the business startup costs were really just what, labor?
Right. Paperwork, contracts, a lot of computer work. Um, the thing about pet sitting is there is little to no overhead.
Which is great for anyone that wants to, attempt or try to start a business.
Correct. Yep. So there wasn't a lot. I mean, I knew that at that time, at the beginning of 2020, when everything was shut down, that would give me, and the reason why I decided to acquire sooner was because I knew that that would give me adequate time to get all of my ducks in a row as far as paperwork, contracts, a database. I did lots and lots of Zoom meetings with clients because we couldn't go face to face and meet each other. So I met them on Zoom, which worked great. So I spent all of that time getting geared up for when people started traveling.
Okay, that makes sense. So talk to me about how grooming came into play. So this was 2020 you said, when you acquired Paw City Pet Care, like, officially.
Correct.
It's 2024 now, and you said you started 3 salons in 2023. So from 2020 to the beginning of 2023, you were just pet sitting. What started you thinking about, like, was it always kind of a grand goal to get to pet grooming, or was there something that happened that led you to think, okay, I think I need to take that step into pet grooming?
So it was not a leap to pet grooming. There were some things that occurred through the pandemic that led me to pet grooming. So one was in the state of Michigan, grooming salons were in the same category as hair salons. And grooming salons and hair salons were shut down for about 8 months. Dogs' nails were becoming a health hazard. Some dogs' nails, and grooming for that matter, they were so grown out and into pads, and it was becoming a big problem for a lot of dogs. And there was no place they could go and get their nails trimmed. So we started offering, I say, in-home nail trims, but in 2020, we would mask up, glove up, go knock on the door. Someone would hand us the leash out the front door. We would take the leash and we would, on their front porch, trim their dog's nails
Oh my
and then,
gosh.
and then hand their dog back to them. So, thinking about it now and how that looked, and I'm dogs were terrified of us at that point.
Oh, sure. You guys were like the SWAT team showing up at their house to trim their nails real quick.
And eventually, as things lightened up, we were able to go into houses with masks on, and masks are scary for dogs. So we really had to focus on them and try to earn their trust. So we started offering in-home nail trims. And again, that became a highly desired service. We so I eventually hired a full-time groomer, and that she's still with me. All she does is 5 and 6 days a week. She does about 10 appointments a day, goes to a home and trims nails for cats and dogs. And that's all she
Wow.
does.
So she's a full-time nail trimmer, essentially,
Yes.
with the background of a groomer.
Yep. So that was my first groomer that I hired. So we started doing that. We have lots of special needs and special circumstances where dogs can't acclimate to a grooming salon, or they've been kicked out of a grooming salon because they've knocked over tables or things like that. So we try the in-home setting. Sometimes it's a great fit for them. Other times it doesn't work, and we send them to a grooming salon. So part of that, opening a grooming salon, was that I was referring clients to a grooming salon. So if I'm going to refer clients to a grooming salon, I want to know that that grooming salon.
I'm sensing a pattern here, Jackie. It's like, somebody else is making money. I would like to make the money.
Right. Don't we all? I mean, let's just
I'm
do it.
simple. Yeah, that's all it is. Okay, so you started referring enough clients that, maybe weren't necessarily fit for at-home environments to in-person grooming salons, that you got the bright idea, hey, what if I just, started keeping these clients for myself? So I'm curious, was your first step to start looking at facilities to do this? Or was your first step, hey, like, I don't even have the labor to do this? Or was it filling a wait list? I mean, what was kind of that first thought when you started to think about, hey, maybe I would like to do that myself? What was kind of the first thing you did to go into action there?
So I added a second groomer, was my first step to action, because we were also getting a lot of requests for special need in-home grooming. So again, elderly dogs that have mobility issues, Great Danes that they don't have a car big enough to put in, things like that. Epileptic dogs where it's too stressful to get in the car and go to a grooming salon. So we were getting that. So I hired a second groomer who was doing nail trims and in-home groomings. And that was all she was doing. She and I discussed opening a salon. So then we started looking for the right space. So it wasn't until we found the right space did we decide that, yes, this is what we're doing. So we found this cute little 1,000 square foot open concept, homey feeling building. Our philosophy is always to take the pet's emotional well-being first. So we had some certain parameters on what we wanted that salon to look like and how we wanted it to be. We're cage-free, open concept, nice home feeling, because again, we started everything in the home. So we wanted to maintain that environment for them.
Wow. Okay, so then let's kind of put A and B together here. So you have this full client book of pet sitting clients from the previous, at that point, from the previous 8 years, right?
Yeah, we had about 1,400 clients at that point.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So you had about 1,400 clients. You had 2 on-staff groomers outside of pet sitting that were going into homes and doing nail trims and in-home grooming.
Yes.
You found a facility number 1, the 1,000 square foot homey type of facility. Did you put out like an email newsletter or a flyer to your current in-home clients and say, hey guys, we got this new facility now. If you want to come on in, great. Or did it kind of just flow into where your current process is? Instead of recommending people to other salons, you just started recommending them proactively to your salon.
So we did for sure send out a message to all of our clients to let them know. We also were involved in the community. We did quite a few. We did a ribbon cutting. We did a couple of open houses. We did dog activities. So we did painting where they could paint. We could put paint on their paw pads and they could paint a picture, because we wanted people to bring their dogs with them to our open houses and our salons. So we also wanted to keep the excitement and allure of the salon. So we would not allow any scheduling. We did not open our books until the open house started. So we wanted to build that suspense. We wanted people to come to the open house. We wanted them to schedule. So this salon, it's our first salon. It was needed in the community. There's a shortage of groomers. So it was definitely needed here, and the salon has been busy since day one.
And give us some context behind what busy is in that, specific location. How many groomers are on staff? How many dogs a day is each groomer seeing? I mean, what's like, how long is the wait list? Give us some context to
Yep.
put that in perspective.
So we do things a little differently than the other salons in our area. So we, like I said, we focus on the dog's emotional well-being. All of my grooming salons are fear-free certified. So we know how to recognize and alleviate fear, stress, and anxiety. And that is our mission and our goal. So we go at their speed. We give them breaks. We have toys in our salons. We work one-on-one with the dogs. So our process, probably takes longer than if you go to a fast-paced salon. So we schedule about 2 to 3 hours for every dog. So we are scheduling, and we don't want multiple dogs coming in at the same time. We want to work one-on-one. Believe it or not, being in the pet industry, owning 3 grooming salons, I cannot stand barking. Which I know is a really silly thing, but I do not like to hear dogs barking. Dogs barking, that means that there's probably some stress and anxiety going on. I think having a cage-free environment and having the dogs come in one at a time really lessens the amount of barking that occurs. So we are doing, like I said, 5 to 6 dogs a day, probably with 1 groomer at the salon. And we are booked solid 4 to 6 weeks out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So before we go further, I'm just going to say what I feel like everyone in the audience is thinking right now. It's like, okay, cage-free, fear-free, 1 in, 1 out. That is awesome. That's fantastic. I would love to do that in my salon. But how the heck do you make money doing that?
It's hard. So that's, we are still in our first year. So we're still figuring that out ourselves.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you have any like early learnings or kind of like your mindset behind it? Like, okay, we figured out we got to charge more, we got to be open later hours, we have to do X, Y, Z. I mean, how, what have you guys learned even just in the first year?
So we need to have more bath dogs and nail trim dogs to offset some of the grooming dogs, because the full groom dogs are a lot more labor intensive and take a lot longer. And when you look at it as like an hourly rate versus a bath dog, you're making a lot more money with bath dogs. Mm-hmm. So we need to keep that balance is the biggest thing that we've found so far.
That makes sense. I'm curious, do you guys charge more because it's cage-free and fear-free, or no?
So with my pet sitting, I learned that once I was able to build trust, build clients, then I can start building prices.
Okay. I like that. I like that mantra. Like build trust, build clients, build prices.
Yep. So we're doing the same thing in this setting too. So first it is build the trust, build the clients, build the repetition, start increasing your prices. So we're still working that through. We have had, I think, 2 increases in the past year, and we're going to continue because our service is different than any other service out there in the area. We just need to have, the pet parents need to see that first. They need to see how our environment is different than what they find elsewhere. So it's still a work in progress. Prices are still going to keep going up.
No, I mean, that makes sense. Talk to me about, okay, so I still want to kind of zone in on how you make money from this. Because again, I mean, I think it is like in a utopia, in a dog grooming utopia, it would be amazing if every salon in the nation was cage-free, fear-free, 1 in, 1 out, low stress environments for the dogs. But again, I think people have, rightfully so, I think it takes some creative thinking about how to actually make good money doing that, right? Because a lot of pet parents probably don't understand the differences between the two until they start seeing it. Do you change up how you, like, is your pay structure with your groomers on staff different than others, or is it still kind of the same? Are they on commission? Are they on salary? Are they on hourly? How does that work?
If they're on commission, plus they keep all of their tips, each of our salons is set up with 1 groomer and 1 grooming assistant. So our grooming assistants are certified as nail and ear technicians too. So that's another way that we can offset some of those one-on-one type costs, is having the assistant doing some bath dogs and nail trims while the groomer is working on the full grooms. So the assistant is hourly, and they have not gone to groom school. They took a quick online course. So our wage costs are lower for the assistant. So that helps offset some of the costs too. And with us, it's all, it is two separate businesses a lot of times for the pet sitting and the grooming. However, coming together, financially wise, there's no overhead pet sitting. So the profitability
and that's amazing.
there. So that helps offset what we're trying to figure out on the grooming side.
100%. And so let's kind of dive a little bit deeper into how they play together. I mean, how many of your pet sitting clients have you been able to get into your grooming salon?
Not as many.
I know you guys are only a year in, but is it
I thought that it was going to be all the same people, but I was wrong. So we do have a lot of our pet sitting clients are grooming clients, but oddly, and I didn't expect it, it's almost two separate groups of people.
Interesting. And why do you think that is? Do you think it's...
I've asked myself that question a lot of times because it wasn't what I was expecting. So
I mean, it's strange.
So part of it, I think, is that the pet parents who appreciate and desire our grooming setup with the one-on-one and no other dogs there are not the type of people that go on vacation and board their dogs. So
I guess that makes sense.
So whenever they go on vacation, they take their dogs with them. So I think that that's probably...
It's almost serving two different markets. You're serving people that, your grooming salon, because it's one in, one out, cage-free, fear-free, etc., are people that, you're right, would never leave their dog. Like those are their best friends on the planet Earth. And they're willing to pay for that service, right? Versus the pet sitting people, we're all dog people out here, but some people are okay leaving their dog and getting some space, and some people aren't. It seems like the pet sitting clients are a little bit more, hey, we'll leave Fluffy at home for a couple of days as long as we get, Paw City to come by and take care of him for a little while. That's super interesting because, I mean, even the cross-selling, I always kind of imagined, if you're doing multiple pet services, that's where kind of the easy cross-selling goes. And as you were saying, like with the costs, it's almost like you're sharing costs between the two businesses and getting customers to, pay for the same thing twice, if that makes sense.
Right.
But interesting. Okay. So the cross-selling isn't as close as you thought it was going to be there. But I would imagine you're seeing more people going from pet sitting to pet grooming, or from pet grooming into your pet sitting.
I would say, and that was part of the idea of opening a salon too, was advertisement for pet sitting, because there is no storefront or facility for pet sitting. So there are no road signs that you drive by. So I would say that it's probably pretty equal. Pet sitting isn't a huge business around here either. Like there's one other company in the area that does it, which is much smaller than us. So it's not a widely known service option. And I wanted that recognition for that. So putting on our street signs that says Paw City Pet Care, grooming and pet sitting, that was important to me. So we do have people who come to the salon, they're like, oh, you can come over and check on my dog when I'm at work? Yep, we can do that.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And building that trust in the salon carries over to them being willing to trust you to come into their home, whereas they maybe would have never allowed somebody to come into their home before.
So knowing what you know about the pet sitting business and now being in pet grooming, would you recommend that groomers looking to add extra service lines in 2024 look into adding pet sitting as a service, or would you recommend they look elsewhere before going over to pet sitting?
So the great thing about pet sitting, again, as I said earlier, is there's no overhead. little to no overhead. So it's, if you yourself are doing it, then you've got 100% profitability.
Right. So it's
Unless
almost like you could stick up a sign in your grooming salon saying, "Hey, I do weekend pet sitting."
Yep.
And if it's just you, the owner, or the manager of the salon doing that, it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing but time to actually go do that. And if you get no clients from it, you spent nothing but the $3 it probably took to print out that little poster you're putting on your desk.
Yes. And there is a large market of pet parents who want someone to come spend the night in their home. And especially weekends. Weekends are our busiest time. So if you are in a grooming salon, you're a owner or you're a groomer and you're working Monday through Friday and you want to make some extra money on the weekend, weekends are the busiest time for pet sitting.
Super interesting. Let's shift gears a little bit because I think it's fascinating. You went from 0 to 3 pet grooming salons in 1 year. Why, we kind of see the linear progression on how you opened up the first one. Why did you go pull the trigger on store number 2 and 3?
So store number 2 was, I was browsing on Facebook one day and this cute little space opened up. So it was quite impulsive. My husband and I were actually away for the weekend and I saw this and I said, hey, let's go check out this space, because our first salon was extremely successful right from the start when we opened the doors and our books were getting scheduled. And I hate telling pet parents no and declining appointments and dogs, because again, I don't want somebody else making the money.
Hey, I'm done referring people. I'm done with middlemen. Oh my.
So we would get lots of phone calls for people who wanted to schedule an appointment and we're 4 to 6 weeks out and they can't wait that long. So we acted very quickly, got the second space, and it mostly serves as overflow for our first salon. I would say about 60% of the clients who are at that salon, it is overflow because they can't get into their number 1 salon that's closer to their home in the time that they want. So we sent them over there.
Okay.
And it's probably about a 15-minute drive. So it's not most convenient for them, but it's not too far away either. So it works. So
and is that the exact same model as store 1? Is it one groomer, 1 grooming assistant, 5 to 6 dogs a day, 2 to 3 hours per dog? Maybe that's a little high, but 2-ish hours a dog, cage-free, fear-free, etc.
Exact same setup. Yes. Yep.
Okay. And did that one perform kind of just as well as store 1, which caused you to open up store 3, or was that one, did it kind of stress the demand a little bit and you guys had to do some extra efforts to fill your books there? Store
3 had a little bit of a different story. So store 3, again, Facebook got me in trouble again. Someone was selling some grooming salon supplies. So I said, hey, let's go over and check it out. So I went over and I met her and she was clearly closing up shop.
Yeah.
And I said, what are you doing with this space? She said, I lease it. And I said, what's your landlord's name? So I talked to her about it. She had 3 groomers working there full time. She had been in business for 12 years. She was the only groomer in the town.
Oh my gosh.
The only salon in the whole town. And she already had built-in tubs. The setup was great. It was dated. It needed a lot of paint and a lot of cleaning. But I knew the opportunity was there.
Oh, so yeah. That's a gem.
Right. So that salon, so I contacted the landlord, got the lease signed. It took us about 6 weeks to get the floors redone and everything painted. I would have liked to have, I really wish the timeline was moved up so that we could have captured all of those clients when they were due for their next grooms. Unfortunately, I think that they went elsewhere before they got to us, but now people are seeing, we just opened that salon November.
Oh, wow.
And we have 2 full-time groomers there.
Okay.
And we have an assistant because that salon is our biggest salon out of all of them. So our groomers are still one-on-one with dogs, but we do have
2 in the facility.
Yeah, we're intermixing families when they come in, but it's still cage-free, still one-on-one with their groomer, and it's working great.
Okay. That's amazing. Okay. So of the 3 salons now, Seems like salon 1 and 2 are very similar. Salon 3, it seems like, is in a, in a different location and a little bit bigger, has 2 people working in it, or three people working in it instead of 2. What are some of the, good things, or like some of the wins that you guys have seen from all 3 of them? Like posting on Facebook obviously seems to work to find salons. But what about, your guys' clients? Are you guys finding clients through Facebook? Are they finding you through just driving by the street? Are you guys is it the launch events that's keeping clients showing up? How are you guys attracting clients to all 3 of these salons?
So word of mouth from clients is our biggest way of getting into. That's referral basis is probably our biggest advertising. Facebook is huge. I don't know. I don't know what we did before Facebook.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more, because Facebook's free. So like, how are you guys using it to be successful?
So I don't even have to use it to be successful. It's still word of mouth from clients. So people are always posting on community pages. Does anyone know a good groomer? Does anyone know a good pet sitter? And our salon, our pet sitting business, is always commented multiple times. And we don't ask our clients to do that, but we have built such a reputation and such trust with them that, and loyalty, that they are always out there recommending us. I'm blown away sometimes when I go on there and I see the nice things that people have said. So really, if I had to give my key word of advice, the biggest word of advice is to build a reputation that people believe in you, and people will recommend you, and people will trust you with their dogs, so that they feel confident enough that, hands down, Paw City Pet Care is the place to go.
No, and I really like, there's like a common theme here outside of the get away a middleman theme. But there's a common theme here that you have very long-term mindset. The buying the other pet sitting business in the midst of COVID, that was a very, positive long-term mindset view. And like the way you set your pricing, you're not really worried about, I'm just going to put it in air quotes here, making money right now. You're worried about building reputation and providing high quality service, so that you can raise prices once you get that reputation, and you deserve and you earn that reputation and that high dollar. So I really like that you have a long-term mindset, knowing that, hey, we're only in year 1. I know that we're not making what we could, but it's going to get there. We just have to build the reputation and the client base up and get them to trust us, so that we can deserve to price that high.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's amazing. I mean, that takes a lot of patience, honestly, because I feel like it's very difficult, obviously, once we, leave our jobs, or we leave corporate and we want to start our own salon. I mean, you're kind of without a paycheck, right? Which is really tough, and it forces you to do some things that you maybe wouldn't have done if you had a paycheck. But again, I think that your mindset is really smart, where it's like, hey, just do what you can to service the dogs the best to your abilities right now. Do what you can to pay the bills, and once you build that reputation, you can start to charge up.
Well, and if there is somebody out there who, is working corporate and they want to go out on their own and they want to do something, the way that I built this business, I have taken no loans. I've put no personal equity into this. This is all built itself because of pet sitting. So if you can offer those services that don't have the overhead, don't have the supplies, don't have the equipment, and build up a bank account so that you can then put that into some salon equipment or some in-home nail trimming equipment or things like that. In-home nail trimming, I've had some groomers tell me that that's scary and dangerous. We have been extremely successful with it. None of our groomers, none of our pet parents, none of our dogs ever feel that it's scary or dangerous. So
no, I mean, I feel like nail trimming is a great lever to pull. I mean, I've heard it used by salon owners currently as a very good way to get new clients. If you can offer free nail trimming at your salon, you might get a bunch of people from the community that have never been to your grooming salon to get a free nail trim for their dogs, and they start to meet you, they start to build a relationship and a friendship with you, and then next thing you know, they're bringing in their dogs for full grooms. Now that's just a different strategy, but I like what you're saying, where nail trimming is something that's short, it's quick, you can, there's high demand for it. You don't need to have a salon or a studio or anything like that to actually do it. You can go out to people's houses, you can do it in your van or in your car, whatever it may be. But I like that as a step there. And it's almost, I like your model again about, it's almost like you had a no cost agency where it's like, hey,
Right.
I have a job. I also can go do this on the side until I build up a bank account to actually go pull the trigger on that storefront or that salon, whatever it is that's actually going to cost me money.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, we've been at this since 2015, so it's not something that happens overnight, but it is something that you can definitely build.
Yeah, and that's your long-term mindset, Jackie. I love it. I love it a lot. Jackie, last question before we go. What is one thing? You have 3 salons now, and you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, I believe, if I counted right, grooming employees. What is one thing that your grooming staff cannot live without? By one thing, that could be a shampoo, like a certain shampoo, that could be a certain trimmer, certain shears, whatever it may be. Is there one thing that they're always like, Jackie, we need this or we cannot do our jobs?
I can't think. So probably the fan favorite is our Aussie dog nail clippers.
Okay.
They all love the Aussie dog nail clippers.
All right. All right. We heard it here first. The Aussie dog nail clippers. I love it, Jackie. I love it. Okay. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about you or Paw City Pet Care? Feel free to shout out your website or your Facebook, whatever is the best way for people to kind of learn more about you and Paw City Pet Care.
At Paw City Pet Care.
At Paw City Pet Care. All right. Jackie, I really appreciate you coming on. You are the best. You're a rock star. You've done some incredible things. Just to sum it up with a really positive long-term mindset. And like I said, I really appreciate that. I'm kind of jealous. I get the little short-term mindset in front of me all the time. And I love how you've been able to zoom out and make these things work together. So thank you for coming on and telling your story.
Thank you.
And that's the pod.